Hello again. We're going to read another story now about a man named, now I've got to pronounce this correctly, Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel. Hard. But you can find this man in the book of Haggai in the Bible. This story is called God's People Head Home. Now his name is pronounced Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel. And he was one of King David's children's children. So he was one of God's people. But like many of God's people, he was far from home in a land called Persia. Now, Persia was beautiful, the most beautiful land in all the world, but it wasn't where God wanted Zerubbabel. So one day, God whispered a secret to Zerubbabel. Zerubbabel, it's time for you to go back home. And when you go back home, I have a job for you. Rebuild my temple. Rebuild God's temple? Zerubbabel could hardly believe it. Why? The temple was where God came to be with his people. And for years, there hadn't even been a temple at all. Which meant the people didn't feel God was there. But a new temple? This could only mean one thing. God was getting ready to come back. The people could feel close again to God once that temple was built. Zerubbabel marched straight in to see the king of Persia, and he said, Almighty King, kingly king, most kingish and king-like of all kings, can I ask a teensy-weensy, little bitty, itty, teeny, tiny favor? Anything, the king said. So Zerubbabel asked to go back home and to take thousands of God's people with him. Now, what do you think the king said? You're just going to take a lot of people from the land and rebuild the temple? Absolutely, the king said. Yes. Because God was using this king hundreds of miles away to bring his people home. Even though the king didn't know it, he was fulfilling what God had told the prophet Jeremiah. You won't be far. This is what God told the prophet Jeremiah beforehand to tell the people. You won't be far from home forever. The temple won't be gone forever. Does it feel like you're all alone? Does it feel like my plans aren't working anymore? It's not the case. I'm still with you. And I still have a plan. Not just a today plan, but a tomorrow plan. In fact, it's a forever plan. And it's a good one, too. It's a plan to take all of the wrong and make it right. To take all of the darkness and make it light. It's a plan to bring you home to me. So Zerubbabel went to Jerusalem and he started to rebuild the temple. It was hard work and a lot of people didn't want him to finish. They tried to ruin all of the work God's people were doing on the temple. But God was with Zerubbabel. Even when he was far from home, even when building the temple was hard, even when his enemies tried to stop him, God was with Zerubbabel. And so the temple foundation, the foundation of the temple was finished. Zerubbabel and a priest named Jeshua gathered many of the people together. And they sang the same song Solomon had sung when they built the first temple. It's a lot of S's. They sang the same song Solomon sung when he finished the temple. God is good. His love is better. We hope he'll live with us forever. Now, I don't know if the tune went like that. The tune's my own making, but those are the words that the people sang when the temple was finally finished. Well, at least when the foundation was. The people sang, they danced, they played tambourine and trumpets. It was a loud day. But many people, especially the older ones, were crying. Why? Because they remembered the old temple that King Solomon had built. And this new temple that Zerubbabel had helped build, well, this one wasn't quite the same as it. And so they missed the old one. But they realized something that day. That maybe, just maybe, if a temple could be built and destroyed and needed to be rebuilt again, over and over, maybe the best way for God to live with his people might not be a temple of gold and wood and fabric at all. Maybe God needed to come to his people some other way. Why, if God was going to live with his people among them, maybe he'd have to come to the earth and actually live among the people as a living, breathing person. You'd call him Emmanuel, God with us. And Zerubbabel at this time couldn't quite figure out how God would do it,